like the shape here of a human being. So maybe his whole point is saying that it's that human beings are some type of virus. I wouldn't be surprised if that was his if that was the message that he was trying to have people decipher with his painting. So for this one, if you were to compare it, it looks a lot like what something that Pablo Picasso would have done. Not necessarily it's like the same, but that you can tell that he was drawing on that influence from a fellow painter that was doing something different yet similar to what he was doing. And that one's called Still Life by Moonlight. And this little bit here, it says a headline on its side frequently appears in Dali's pictures in the late 1920s. In a study for the Still Life by Moonlight, the head, symbolic of Dali's friend Lorca, is marginal, but in the finished painting, it has been given a central position on the table. It is an allusion to Lorca's performances in the student residence in Madrid. He would pretend to be dead and try to act out gradual decay. I'm telling you, every single thing that Dali does, it has some type of purpose. There's a meaning to it. Interesting. I just always shame on me for thinking that he just did things to do them. I should have been a little bit more conscious to know that maybe he would have the heads like that in so many different portraits because there was a meaning to it. So this one's called a donkey's carcass. I love the play on the color purple. I mean, black is absolutely my favorite color, but I think purple would follow that, and I love the play on it, and it looks if you really think about it, it looks like something that could have easily been drawn now, and you'd be like, yeah, that it looks. I don't know how to explain it. Like it looks new, even though it's old. This is from 1928. Uh, yeah, it's pretty bizarre, Nate. You're absolutely right, but uh, again, yeah, it looks like it could have been drawn by someone now, and it would have still and people would have still gone crazy over it. Okay, so this is a scene from the film An Andalusian Dog. Okay, so Dali felt flattered that Paul Eluard should have come to see him. With André Breton and Louis Aragon, Eluard was one of the leading lights of the Surrealist movement. Dali had met him only briefly in Paris the previous winter. As for Gala, she was a revelation, the revelation Dali had been waiting for, indeed expecting. So Gala was, just before I continue reading, Gala was his muse. That was who he basically gave his heart and everything to, even though they never actually had a sexual relationship, but that was his muse. Like that's everything was for Gala. Uh, she was a personification of the woman in his childhood dreams to whom he had given the mythical name Galushka, and whom various young and adolescent girls had already stood in for. He recognized her by her naked back. The proof that Gala was the woman was provided by the fact that her physique was precisely that of the woman in most of his paintings and drawings. In The Secret Life of Salvador Dali, he later described her in these terms: her body still had the complexion of a child. Her shoulder blades and the subrenal muscles had that somewhat sudden athletic tension of an adolescent, but the small of her back, on the other hand, was extremely feminine and pronounced, and served as an infinitely svelte hyphen between the wilful, energetic, and proud leanness of her torso and her very delicate buttocks, which the exaggerated slenderness of her waist enhanced and rendered greatly more desirable. Uh, just to be clear, she's a grown ass woman. She's just giving a description, but uh, yeah, this is to the extent we can kind of see how he viewed her, and this was basically all most of his life. So, in the course of the long walks Dali and Gala were now regularly taking along the hills at Cape Creus, an intensely melancholy spot, Dali told her he loved her. He did so in the interval between two fits of laughter at a cove by Es Cayals. It was not easy for him. The woman everyone called Gala, her name was Helena Develina Diakonov, and she was the daughter of a Moscow lawyer, was a fascinating, charming, self-confident person. She made quite an impression on Dali. Okay, so this one is the Lugubrian's Game. This one here on top is called The Great Masturbator. The Enigma of Desire. In it, it says, my mom, in French. Just think of the time it takes to meticulously, you know, paint all of these different elements that, you know, elements within elements. You know, there's the cube in itself, but then we have the bikes inside. You know, this part right here, and again, the way he plays with perspective, and like you can feel, and by seeing it, you can feel that it has that depth that we spoke about before. The way he plays with shadows as well too gives it that sense of uh, uh, I guess the word is depth. It's crazy. Okay, so this is accommodations of desire, illuminated pleasures here on the left. The next two is a imperial monument to the child woman and the invisible man. Check these two out. So this one is the invisible man. I mean, wow. So these are details from specific paintings that we have already seen. Um, this one is from the one you saw. It's Portrait of Paul Elnard, and it's uh, we can see in each one the common theme is the lion head, the lion face. This is 1930. It's called The Fountain, the one on the left. This one here. The way he plays with these shadows is just, it's pretty magnificent. I love how you can, it's like you can touch how they're all, it could easily be something made of marble, and you can touch like the textures and how the hair would feel on a marble statue that has those different creases like that. That's pretty dope. And you can tell on the back little details, people that are screaming. A common theme I've noticed in a lot of his paintings, especially looking at them now, is there's a lot of them have some type of suffering. So there's one or two people either crying or in pain or something. Maybe these two are not the best examples, but this one on the left is called Portrait of Emilio Terry. Actually unfinished. The one on the right is Evocation of Lenin. This is The Enigma of William Tell, and there's a little explanation of it. So it's, for a long time, Dali was secretive about the origins of the breach with his family, the reasons why he was expelled from their midst, and doubtless the motive for his secrecy was consideration for his father. His picture, The Enigma of William Tell, suggests an explanation. William Tell is my father, and the little child in his arms is myself. Instead of an apple, I have a raw cutlet on my head. He is planning to eat me. A tiny nut by his foot contains a tiny child, the image of my wife, Gala. She is under constant threat from this foot, because if the foot moves only very slightly, it can crush the nut. The painting shows Dali settling accounts with his father, who had disowned him because he was living with a divorcee, Paul Eluard's ex-wife. But nothing is ever simple in Dali. He deliberately gave William Tell the features of Lenin, purely to anger the surrealists. In this aim, he succeeded. When he submitted the picture to the 1934 Salon des Indépendants, André Breton flew into a rage, seeing it as a counter-revolutionary act and treason against the Bolshevik leader. Tisk. So this one's called The Spectre of Sex Appeal. He says, for me then, the erotic must always be ugly, the aesthetic always divine, and death always beautiful.